this easy exercise thing that older people did.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know much about Tai Chi as a martial art. I only really knew of it as something that was like kind of good for you when you got older.
Yeah. Welcome back to Fearless Narrative, the show that's all about the incredible stories of women who are changing the game, breaking the rules, and pushing through the boundaries to face their fears head on because they are fearless entrepreneurs and creatives, and we love to see it. I am your host, Courtlyn Jones, and on our show, we go into a deep dive into captivating storytelling and engaging conversations with these incredible women as they share how they are pursuing their passions and shattering glass ceilings along the way. We love that so much. It's so inspiring and so empowering to share these stories with you. And hopefully it will empower you to embrace your own fearless path. Our show is all about feeling the fear and doing it anyway, as well as women supporting women. We love that. We need more of that always. So before we get started, don't forget to hit the button to subscribe to our show. We also would love a nice 5-star review at the end. Without further ado, let's go into a new episode right now. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to Fearless Narratives. I am your host, Courtlyn Jones, and today we are honored to introduce you to an incredible individual who seamlessly blends the worlds of Tai Chi, finance, and stress management. Joining us is Shirley Chock, fondly known as the Stressbender, a Tai Chi expert and the visionary owner of Aiping Tai Chi. Shirley's journey is a tapestry of diverse accomplishments. Armed with a degree in economics from the University of Chicago, she leveraged her financial expertise to ascend the ranks in senior leadership positions. As a former U.S. Women's National Champion for Tai Chi and a former Working Mother of the Year, according to Working Mother magazine, Shirley has mastered the art of balance. Prepare to embark on a journey of stress-bending wisdom, financial acumen, and the transformative power of Tai Chi with our esteemed guest, Shirley Chock. Hi, Shirley. How are you?
Hi, Courtlyn. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
My pleasure. Your journey from finance to becoming a Tai Chi expert and owner of Aiping Tai Chi is incredible, and I'm dying to know how it all got started. So can you tell us the moments when you realized the need to do this career shift?
Yeah, it actually happened in an unplanned way. So it goes to show that you can have great plans all worked out, and then life happens and you might need to make a sudden shift. Now, it's very interesting. My finance journey and my martial arts journey happened pretty much in tandem. After I graduated college, I went to University of Chicago and I have a degree in economics. And then I started working in various finance fields. And that was also the same time I started learning martial arts. It was something that I always wanted to learn, but never really had the opportunity to. And I graduated college and decided that I wanted to pursue martial arts. So I had this interesting tandem journey as I advanced in my career in finance and advanced in my skills and training in martial arts. And then I moved to Connecticut and I found this amazing grandmaster in Chinese martial arts. Aiping Tai, and I started learning first wushu kung fu with her. It's like a more acrobatic variation of kung fu. And then I injured my knee. I tore my ACL doing that, and I switched over to Tai Chi because she is one of the greatest Tai Chi grandmasters in the world. And so she taught Tai Chi in the school, and I had initially planned to do Tai Chi just as part of my recovery until my knee got back ready to do wushu again, because at that point I was still in my 20s and I had this mistaken view, like most people, that Tai Chi is this easy exercise thing that older people did.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know much about Tai Chi as a martial art. I only really knew of it as something that was like kind of good for you when you got older.
Yeah.
So I had in mind I was going to just get myself strong enough, get my knee rehabbed enough, and then I was going to go right back into the wushu classes. And then I learned Tai Chi for real under a master who was able to teach it for what it is. And it opened a whole new world of internal arts and understanding energy and really understanding the dynamics of force and how you can ride force and how opposing forces interact with each other. And when you're able to do it really slow down, you understand it in a way that you just don't when it's fast. It's kind of like when you're watching sports and you have, and let's say if you're watching tennis, and you don't know if the ball went inbounds or out of bounds. You have to slow it down before you can tell. And that is how it is with movement as well. When you're able to slow it down, you understand movement in a way that you don't when you're doing it fast. So it just uncovered this whole new world. I fell in love with it completely and I never looked back. So then it became this journey into Tai Chi. And I did wind up just really getting so into it that I was training a lot in it. I was competing in it. I led our school's competition team. I also was helping my master just run the school as well because her English is really good, but she still needed some help in some of the communications. And I was kind of her right hand person. And that we did have this plan that at some point eventually I could take over the school from her. Like when she retired, then I could take it over. And I had this great plan in mind that I was going to do early retirement with full pension and benefits. And then I could take on the school just as a hobby to keep the legacy going and it would be something that I could do because I really liked it and we can continue this legacy that she built. And I wasn't really thinking of it as a business. It was more of just continuing the school. But then my master decided to move to Austin because that's where her daughter decided to settle down, got married, had kids. So my master went and decided that she was going to move to Austin. And this was, more than 10 years too soon in my plans. So then we had to decide what do we do with the school that our master founded in 1996 and has such a strong legacy in Connecticut. Do we allow her to sell it to someone who wanted to buy it, who had no part of our legacy? Or do we take it on and continue the legacy with, the people that she trained, and to basically continue it with its brand? So I decided that I would try to take it on and make it my full-time profession. And it was something that I really benefited from. I really gained so much value in the Tai Chi philosophies and principles as I was learning it with my physical movement. I realized that it wasn't just within the school that it was helping me, that these philosophies were really helping me in my life as I was navigating work and life and conflict situations and all the things that make it really hard for people as they go about their everyday life because there's so much stress. And as we advance in technology and as we gain more technology and the world becomes smaller, life becomes more stressful. And I was seeing so many people struggling, especially my peers. So, one of the things that you get to see when you are in one place working for a long time and advancing in your career is you actually get to see the progression, um, your progression, and alongside your peers' progression. So
Mhm.
people that I started with in a like mid-level position, as we all kind of advanced in our careers and went into more senior level positions, I could see that so many of my peers were struggling with so much stress as they were advancing in their careers. And I seem to have found an easier way to live. And the
Mhm.
things that were really hard for a lot of people seem not as hard for me. And that's when I realized that it's because I have the Tai Chi teachings that were helping me navigate my life decisions and my mindset, how I interacted with other people,
Mhm.
how I handled arguments and conflict, and how I handled change. So that's when the light bulb moment really came on that this is what I actually really need to bring to the world because I wasn't seeing other Tai Chi teachers really focusing on this aspect that I think that is actually the most important thing for people to learn that like, Tai Chi is not just for your physical health. It actually gives you kind of a blueprint to help you live life in an easier way. So that's what I've been kind of really focusing my content and my brand around.
That's beautiful. I personally have done Tai Chi in college for a gym class, which was surprising that the school even had a Tai Chi
That's
class for
amazing.
gym.
That's
But
awesome.
I know it was pretty cool. And I was only 18 when I learned that I had arthritis in my body.
Mm.
So it was really, it still sucks to this day, but Tai Chi was one of the only things that I could do back then when I was first
Mm.
in all this amazing, incredible pain that made me hard to move my body in like the smallest ways. So Tai Chi gave me more of control over it, over my
Mm.
movement because it was so slow
Yeah.
and the pain was more bearable than other
Mm.
activities. And I did
Yeah.
find it also helped my mental health because I was really struggling with, how much pain I was in and how that was hurting my like overall being, and
Yeah.
having Tai Chi to be helping me with my physical body as well as with my emotional needs at the time was
Mm.
really incredible. And I wish that today I was still doing it, but I'm more now into yoga, but it's
Mhm.
still a practice.
Yeah, yeah. That's so great that you had that experience. And I think that it's really interesting that as I think as stress has become a bigger problem for our young people, that the younger people are actually more open to learning Tai Chi in a way that didn't really exist when like maybe 20 years ago. I feel like younger people that are college age, they weren't as open to it. But now when COVID hit, I was live streaming on Twitch and I had a lot of college age viewers that would come in and they really enjoyed learning about the philosophy and also because the internet can be such a toxic place
Mm-hmm.
and the world has become so divisive
Mm-hmm.
that having a philosophy that really embraces all sides, that the whole philosophy is built around the concept that you can't have one thing. Sorry, you can't have one thing without its opposite. That two sides come into existence together. You first have nothing, and then when you have something, that something comes into existence with its opposite. And we have to accept the opposite parts of us. And we have to accept that there is going to be opposing forces that exist, but then is trying to find a harmony between the two. And there's always constant change. And what may start off as left, then we'll go and keep rotating and become the right. So that's the yin yang symbol with the swirl. A lot of people see the yin yang symbol and think of it as a static image, kind of see it as a tattoo or a wall hanging,
Mm-hmm.
but it's actually meant to convey constant movement. That's why it's a swirl. You're meant to see it moving and rotating. So it's never still. What is in one place will wind up actually in the opposite place just because of natural motion that happens. So if you try to keep things and hold things to be still, then you will become pulled off balance. Like if you allow that change to happen and relax through it, then you can navigate that change and be so much more resilient. But I think, it's hard as the pace of change is so rapid. It's like we learn something and it's immediately obsolete and we have to learn something else.
Yeah.
And it just makes us more anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So the more effective tools we can have to let us become more comfortable with the change, the easier it is for us to be able to handle these life's ups and downs.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I saw how much your Instagram has grown. You have built a big presence for yourself with your teachings, and it's incredible. I'm so proud of you for that.
Thank you.
So, how do you balance the practices of Tai Chi with the demands of the digital age, be on Instagram or Twitch or whatever it is? And then
Mhm.
how does that impact your outreach on community?
Yeah, I didn't intend to have a large Instagram following.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even on Instagram before
Yeah.
COVID. It was something that I created just because after COVID hit and we had to close our classes,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't even get together outdoors in the beginning. The first few months, it was complete shutdown and we were all inside. Then I had to make a digital presence. We all had to because that was the only way we could continue earning income, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately it's my business and I have to have revenues. So if I couldn't teach classes in the school, I had to find a way to offer classes that my students would be willing to pay for. And I did have a vision in mind about being able to reach people who wanted to access my teachings without having to direct them through a Zoom link, without having them to find a very specific URL that they need to get invited to. So being online in a public way where people just know what your channel is and they can immediately access you, that reach was really exciting because then people could join in on my lessons anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And all they needed to know was the channel name. So I went on Twitch because there was a very particular way I wanted to teach my classes. So I recorded video of myself in my school to give an experience like you were in class.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to go to the Tai Chi class in our school, we have a mirror in the school. I would be in front of the mirror, my students would be behind me, and we would be moving together like in the same exact way. And that's what your experience in classes. Most Zoom lessons weren't that
Mm-hmm.
experience. Most Zoom classes, you're seeing, the other person, and if you are doing something like yoga where there's not a lot of movement,
Mm-hmm.
then it works. You can just mirror and everything is just kind of static. But once you have movement where you're stepping and turning and going in all different angles, it's very hard to be able to learn in that kind of orientation. It's just like dance, very hard to learn dance online unless you can see like the person is stepping with their left foot over to the left side.
Mm-hmm.
So I recorded videos of myself in front of the mirror. And when I was giving my lessons, what I was doing was I was playing the videos, and then I would then cut to myself live to answer questions or give more specific detail instructions. And then it would be like a cut between our conversations live and playing the video where I would play it. Maybe I would pause and give some instructions. So those were that was the viewing experience that I gave. And because I had so much content that was already there, I quickly saw the value of content.
Mm-hmm.
Before COVID, I had never even heard of the term content as like a term. It was like there are videos.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is content? Content creator was a completely foreign word for me. But then I realized that like, all of these recordings of me giving lessons, it's valuable. Now I understand why
Mm-hmm.
they call it digital assets, because I can take this and I can turn it into other pieces of content that can be monetized, or it
Mm-hmm.
can be shared in other ways. And that was kind of the start of my Instagram, because I had all these recordings that now I could cut up into little reels. That was when reels started becoming popular, was actually when my Instagram started taking off. I had like a small Instagram following before Reels started taking off. But once Reels were taking off, because I do have videos that are good for Reels, then, because I have so many hours of recordings,
Yeah.
so much raw content I could turn into Reels, I am able to make a daily Reel just from my, because even now, my classes at the school, many of those are taught online. You can join live on Zoom, and those classes are recorded. So I just have like an unlimited source of raw content that I can turn into reels. And that's most of my Instagram is just little pieces of my classes that I share.
That's so smart and such a great way to share your content out. But I also love how when I was in beginning of quarantine, I was doing a lot of online classes as well, but I was doing like boxing and I was doing yoga.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that same like opportunity to talk to the guest, to the host after the teacher afterwards to, ask questions. I had that sort of on IG Live when I would like, comment on things, but like it was always a flood of other comments that was, buried behind. So I couldn't always get answers in. So I'm so proud of how much it has helped you and your clients connect. That's incredible.
Thank you so much. Yes, that was I really enjoy the live connection with people. Like I really feel people's energies. And that was actually like it was a I did think about like what were the options. Like there were many options to choose from. I could also go all in on YouTube. That was also an option
Mm-hmm.
where I could just record videos on YouTube. And there were many yoga instructors that found amazing success with YouTube lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried. And for me at that point, because I wasn't familiar speaking to the camera yet, I just could not, it just felt really uncomfortable for me just speaking to a camera,
Same,
like
yeah.
not having like a real, not having people feeding like me, like the energy
Energy,
and that
yeah.
energy exchange with people. Like even in a live where it's chats,
Mm-hmm.
there's still an energy that's there. And maybe it's Twitch. Like Twitch, I think really provides a wonderful community. Like one of the fun things about Twitch is you get to customize your channel with things that are like emotes that only your subscribers can get access to use on your channel. And so you have like little like inside things that you can share with your community. You can get like special badges that you put on, and that's one of the like the fun things that really builds community. And what I found was the community part of it was so important because there would be a lot of times when I would be speaking and there'll be new people coming in to ask, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like every
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, there'll be new people coming in. "What are you doing? What is that? What's Tai Chi?"
Yeah.
And people in the community would answer and respond, and because they I that and then that would help them out while I could continue speaking about whatever it was that I was speaking about. So, like the other thing that was really good at was it made me a better communicator
Mm-hmm.
because people were constantly coming in all the time asking, "What are you doing? What is that?" And you have to be very efficient in your explanations. You learn how to not be too wordy. And
Mm-hmm. Got it. I've also have noticed that you have so many achievements that I want to talk about right now. So you are the former US champion for Tai Chi, and you also have been recognized as one of the 25 most influential individuals in the New Haven, Connecticut region. That's a mouthful. Okay, so can you share a moment in your career that you are most proud of and has had the most impact on your community?
oh yeah, okay. Um, So for I am very proud of all of the achievements. Yeah, they are all really really meaningful for me. Um, but if you ask me what is the one that I personally feel the most proud about, it
Mhm.
would be one that wouldn't really I think when you're looking at it from the outside, it wouldn't seem like it's such a big recognition. Not as much as some of these other things like
Yeah.
U.S. champion and New Haven influential person. But for me personally, so much more meaningful. Um, I had the privilege of competing in the very last A Taste of China All Tai Chi Championships. This was in 2005 or 2006, one of those years, and it was still fairly early in my Tai Chi career. I had always heard about this tournament, It was one of the most respected in the US. All the important grandmasters have all participated in it. It was a festival as well as a tournament. And I had the privilege of attending it, but unfortunately, it was its very last one. But the thing that made this tournament so special was they didn't separate the event categories into all the different categories. If you go
Levels?
to if you go into martial arts tournaments now, martial arts tournaments are very much money making events. So like any event category, you're separated between men and women, and then within men and women, you're separated by age group. And then by age group, you're separated into beginner, intermediate, advanced.
Got it.
And they separate that because you do want people to feel encouraged that they did well, and it gives an opportunity for everybody to do well for something like Tai Chi, where there aren't that many competitors worldwide to begin with. When you do that, a lot of times it means that you get a medal by default. Just because.
That's for being there. Just showing up.
Yeah. So in this tournament, they actually only had one big category by the form that you're competing in. So men, women, all ages, all levels, all compete together. And that I competed at that point, I didn't even know that many forms because it was still fairly early in my career. But the 24 form is the most popular Tai Chi form practice around the world. And I won that event. And I was actually the only woman to even place in that event. And I won that event. And that wound up actually giving me a lot of just credibility in the Tai Chi community. And I wish that women were given that opportunity in other areas to be able to compete with men, because there are so many things that I'm sure if women were given the opportunity and they are seen to actually be able to defeat the men, then you can get a certain level of respect and credibility. And that it was actually the last Tai Chi competition that had no separation in gender. So I'm the last woman who was given that opportunity to experience that. So that for me, that was really exciting. And also very exciting was I didn't go there with my master. I went there solo. I didn't actually say who my master was, but for one of the routines that I competed in, people knew immediately who my master
I can just tell. That's amazing. So amazing.
Yeah, so that was a very, very amazing experience.
Congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So Tai Chi is seen as a practice that is encompassing physical, mental, and spiritual aspects. So how has Tai Chi contributed to your personal growth and sense of purpose beyond the physical practice?
It is a mindset, even more than a physical practice. I like to tell my students that Tai Chi isn't something that you do, it's how you do everything. So I bring the philosophies of Tai Chi into every aspect of my life. It becomes a framework that you see things, a lens that you see things through, because there's so many things that we encounter that seem so complicated. We see the complexities, we see the things that are different, we see the things that are distracting. And when you put your Tai Chi lens on and approach life the way you would approach Tai Chi, what I'm always trying to teach my students is to find a thing that is similar. You're learning new movements and it's so easy to get caught up with the new thing that you forget the principles of find your center, maintain your center, don't do anything beyond, where you can keep your center, stay relaxed, don't overdo, allow it to flow naturally. We're actually trying to stay as still as we can so that we're not shooting things. Do things as connected as you can so it can flow from one thing to the other thing. And if you're trying too hard and tense up and try to do it well and try to figure it out, you get in your own way. Like, so much of like why things don't work out is because we actually get in our own way and we're trying to do too much. So if you actually try to do a little less and let everything kind of just go to place together and you get out of your own way, it will work out better. So that is what makes Tai Chi work in the physical movements. But that is so much more important for you to understand in your own life because we're always trying to do too much and getting in our own way in our quest to do a really good job at something.
Yeah, thank you for that. Finance and Tai Chi are very seemingly different. And we already talked on this earlier, but if so, how are these two worlds connected?
Yeah, it's really interesting how I have seemed to be able to merge these two seemingly really different things, finance and Tai Chi. And for me, I also, like when I was saying before, how the Tai Chi mind helps you to find similarities in things. I was able to find a lot of similarities in finance and Tai Chi. And that is because of what I was doing in my finance role. And I think that it's, more specifically what I was doing in finance that I was able to translate into Tai Chi. So my role for most of my finance career was in a reporting and analysis role. So I would work with people who were entering transactions and then having to report on that for our audited financial statements and the annual reports, and then working with our planning office to be able to use these numbers to do budgeting and forecasting. And having to see the complexities of where things come into the flow of the network and where it ends up. And because I was really good at that and helping people better understand how to do their jobs better so that it would get reported into the right place, as opposed to doing something and accounting for it in the wrong area and then it winds up getting reported in the wrong place. I was helping a lot of people as the informal trainer, and a position actually was created for me to formalize my training role as the director of finance training and development. So I focused on training and helping people to quickly understand really, really complex financial concepts to hit the ground running in their job. And that requires actually a lot of creative thinking to help people to not get lost in the weeds, but still be able to understand a bigger picture, but no detail enough to be able to like explain those aspects to understand the details. So being able to present information in a way that helps them to be able to kind of change their filters to what they look at. So when you're looking at detail, to not get bogged down by all the detail, how do you just kind of shine the spotlight on a certain aspect of the detail, but see it really deeply without getting distracted by all the other things, and then kind of changing the perspectives to then see how does that then connect to that next level up to now understand another layer of depth. And I was able to utilize at that time, there's a new software for presentations that was getting popular that worked so well with what I was trying to do is Prezi.
Yes.
It does animated
I love Prezi.
presentations. Because I hate PowerPoint,
Yeah, me too.
especially for finance, like numbers. Oh my gosh. It's just
I feel
financial
that.
people making PowerPoint.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
especially the training, like it was the worst. Kind of like how I didn't want to do my Tai Chi classes as Zoom classes. Like, that was like the first
Same dread.
same as because I hated the PowerPoint training so much that if I'm going to do training, I had to do something in a way that I would want to experience it as the person
More
learning.
enjoyable, yeah.
So I made these Prezi presentations. That was actually the first time when I realized that I'm actually a creative person. I thought I was a financial analytical person, but now that I have to think about how to effectively present training material, I was having so much fun creating these animated presentations that could zoom in and zoom out and change the scope. And that actually was wonderful training for me to translate into Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is another one of those things where it can be so complicated. It can get really, really complex when you go deep into the aspects that like really make it work. So I use that kind of thinking and that skill set that I honed from my finance training to also guide people in a way. Like one of the things that I don't agree with some people who have created these very, very like simplified variations of Tai Chi, that there's this thinking that Tai Chi is too complicated. People aren't going to want to learn it if it's so complicated. So it's better to give them this light version, this easy version where we strip away the complexity, and then it'll be easier for them to learn and they'll like it more and more people will learn. And that is true, but I don't agree that it has to be that way, because I find that people actually do want to understand the complexities, but we have to present it in a way that makes sense. So the onus is actually on us to improve our communication, because what I found is, a lot of people are tuning into what I have to say and I'm not dumbing it down. Sometimes I go into things that are complex, but I try to do it in a way that makes sense. So I always use words that make sense to me I was born in the US. I spent the first 7 years of my life in Taiwan, but then I came back to the US. I have no connection with ancient sages that lived in China, 300 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you're teaching me with words that only made sense in that time,
Right.
it has no meaning to
Right.
me. So I I use words that make sense to me
Hmm.
and make sense to what we are experiencing and living. And so I think that that's another reason why people are tuning in, because I'm able to present the information in a way that they can actually connect with and
Hmm.
formulate their own understanding.
Hmm. And I love how your finance background actually helped you be a better teacher in for Tai Chi. That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I would not be as good a teacher if I didn't have that finance instruction
Yeah.
background. And I think that that just goes to show that every part of your life experience
Hmm.
plays a part in shaping who you are, your experiences, your skill sets, and it might be in surprising ways that you could never plan.
Exactly. I, for one, I spent my whole life trying to be a designer, and I tried so hard to get into a full-time role as a in marketing design for years, but I started out in production, which was random, and I didn't understand why I was doing this for so many years, for 9 years, no, like
Mm.
probably like 7 years in production, and then finally I moved on to being a designer. But I didn't know that now, seeing how my life played out, that now I'm an entrepreneur, and all of my years in production helped me so much to where I am
Mhm.
now. So I learned how to build my own company, but also the back end behind the scenes part to it, and then also my creative side as a designer. So I got to do both of my uh categories, whatever you call it, fields, have really helped
Mhm.
me in this new phase of my life. And all those
Yeah.
years in production that felt to me like a waste of time are
Mm.
actually so valuable now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I've always made my life choices based on like, is this something that I feel like I'm going to gain something out of it? Like, I don't know where it's going to go, but am I going to gain something out of it? Something that I want to do? Am I going to be learning from someone who I really respect and just being in their space and just soaking in their knowledge and their experience. I don't care what it is. If there's someone who I really respect,
Yeah.
who I want to just be in their presence all the time, and an opportunity opens up, I'll take it. Like that to
Yeah.
me is so invaluable. Somebody who believes in my potential.
Mhm.
So I have turned down promotion opportunities. I've turned down job offers. I have, I've been poached, and I've turned it down when I knew that it might look good on paper, but either the person I'll be working under, I knew I wouldn't really have a great experience with,
Mhm.
or it just wasn't the right culture fit for
Mhm.
me. That the money couldn't overcome the experience
Mhm.
side of things. And I've also done the reverse, where I've taken positions where it didn't seem like it would be the best career move from like a salary standpoint, but what I gained from that was so invaluable. And then the interesting thing is, when all the other pieces fit into place, everything else fits into place too.
Mhm.
Right. Then the salary came along with that
Love it.
too,
Yeah.
right?
Best part. Okay, so we're almost done here, but I want to ask you a few more questions. So the first one is a bonus question. When was the last time that you felt fearless?
The last time I felt fearless,
Mhm.
um, oh, I have to be honest. So I am always trying to understand my own fear. And so Tai Chi, it is about changing your relationship with fear
Mhm.
and getting comfortable with fear. So I don't think I have ever felt fear less. Like that's if you don't feel a certain amount of fear, then I think that that brings a certain concern for me because either you're completely in a totally safe zone where you're not challenging yourself and you haven't gone to the edge of your comfort level to try something new, or you jumped in way too blindly without seeing all the consequences of what you should be seeing with eyes wide open, because there are a lot of times when you get so optimistic about something, you're so gung-ho that you want to jump in with both feet. And I see this especially with new entrepreneurs who get so excited about starting their own business and they have this great idea, but they may not have formulated their business plan quite to the extent, and they may not have really lined up enough resources to be able to sustain them
That's
through
me.
those downtimes that like that, so like that little bit of trepidation, I think, is a really healthy thing. But you don't want it to make you stop though.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
you like that's like for me, like my first martial arts instructor always said to us, like, never stay in your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Like always come out to the edge so that you're pushing yourself, you're expanding yourself so that you can do more because everybody can do more than they think. Right? And you want to feel a little bit of that fear. And then you feel it, get comfortable with it, and realize that like you don't actually have to be scared of that fear, that it's
Mhm.
natural and healthy. And
Mhm.
then you like let that then give you a sense of energy to drive forward so that you then realize that you can do so much more than
Mhm.
you originally thought.
Yeah, fear is my best friend and my worst enemy at the same time.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think that is healthy.
Yeah. Okay,
Just you
so
don't let it stop you.
exactly. I push
Yes,
through every
yes.
day. So looking ahead, what are your plans and aspirations for Aiping Tai Chi?
I am going to be investing more in content
Mhm.
because a lot of people have reached out with interest in me making even more content
Yay.
and not just limited to the Tai Chi lessons that I've been focusing my content on, but a little bit more general, where some of these things that are in Tai Chi can also help outside of Tai Chi. So
Mhm.
just general mobility. A lot of people on my Instagram have expressed interest in just more general mobility tips. One of the things that I really want to connect with people is just, I guess, you would call it authentic living, just embracing your own authentic self
Love that.
and learning how to connect more with your own instincts.
Mhm.
I think a lot of, and especially women I think because there is that fear that a lot of women feel, they wind up seeking the steps. They want the course to teach them how to do things,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking at all these external guides,
Mm-hmm.
when I would love for people to become more in tune with their internal guides. And that is getting more comfortable with yourself, and learning how to not let fear stop you, because there is a certain fear that comes with having to look inside and being honest, and seeing who you are. But it's so important to go through that process, because then you can develop an internal compass that is honed by you and not by someone else, because
Mm-hmm.
only you know you.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely learned over the last few years for every single thing that I was doing before, because I used to always go at everybody for everything and be like, I need help. Now I'm like, I go inside of me first to see like what I think is the right choice. And then I will like, if I still need help, I'll go ask someone after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always find the answers are inside of me. And I find that a lot more valuable to have the time to learn myself and learn what I actually want to do, and acknowledge that like I know what I want to do and what I'm doing. I just have to like trust myself and then do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all about trust, I
Yeah,
think.
it's like about trusting. And for me, it's about building your own ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have a different ecosystem, and a lot of people, like, I do value everybody's input and advice. Everybody has given me very wonderful, valuable advice, but advice comes from your lived experience and perspective. And when we're new to business or entrepreneurship, and you don't have, maybe you have a brand new business model even, and you're taking everyone's advice, you have to formulate your own ecosystem. And that might not be what other people are telling you to do, might not fit with what you're trying to build. So you process the information, but you have to learn how to like filter that maybe little bits of something you bring in, but then you let other things kind of fall away because it doesn't fit with what you're trying to build, until you can come up with the ecosystem that makes sense for you. And that depends on your interest. It depends on your time, your resources, like what do you have to work with, and what is natural and sustainable. Like, there may be people who give you all this advice about things that they can do, but they may not have the limitations in time that you have. And if you try to implement that, you'll burn out like
Yeah,
immediately. So it is really learning about like your circumstances to build your own ecosystem.
exactly. Love that answer. All right, Shirley, how can the audience find you?
I am on all social media. You can find me on it's at Aiping Tai Chi, AIPINGTAICHI, and my website is aipingtaichi.com, and you can find me there.
Thank you for joining me today. Also, your voice is so soothing and relaxing, by the way. I
Thank
love this whole
you.
episode. You are amazing. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Courtlyn. I really enjoyed our conversation. And I hope you will look into Tai Chi again.
Yes, will do.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
And that is a wrap. Fearless Narratives airs every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. Thank you for joining us today. You have been an amazing audience, and we really love your support. So we also would love for you to give us a nice 5-star review. And until next time, stay fearless.